Hello friends, my name is Amber and welcome to A Lovely Yarn podcast. Today is Tuesday, November 1st. It is the first day of November and we woke up to snow this morning. And it's actually cold enough that there's still a nice little layer of snow on the ground. So we often have gotten our first snow in October, so it's kind of late in the season to get our first snow, but it's always kind of, actually I find snow at any time to be kind of magical. I like snow. I may not like the gray sky, but I do like the snow that comes out of it. So this is bothering me here. Isn't it funny what kind of things bother you? So today's episode might be a little bit shorter than normal. It's just been so busy lately. I don't think that's I don't want to have to do much editing with this episode. I'm just kind of in a weird place mentally, and I think what happened is I hit a wall. I have had an extremely busy last 2 weeks, which has included a lot of just being around lots of people and just a lot of busyness. And I would say that I am a introvert in the sense that I need my alone time to feel recharged. And I haven't had a lot of that lately. And so I feel like I kind of hit a wall. Which is why I hesitated to even film an episode, because I don't want this place to be a negative place. And I'm not feeling negative. I'm just feeling kind of like drained. But at the same time, I also know that parts of podcasting actually like fill up my energy tank. Not so much like the editing portions of it, which is why I'm going to try to keep this minimally edited, which I guess most of my episodes. I actually filmed a fall vlog 2 weekends ago. I filmed over Saturday and Sunday. And then I just didn't have the energy to put it together. So it's just, I have a bunch of footage just sitting in my camera roll, and I think that's probably where it's going to stay. That happens. I've had some of you ask me, am I going to vlog again? You've missed watching me do my homemaking and baking, and I like vlogging, but in the summer I'm just too busy for it. I'm more likely to do it in the colder months of the year, the months that I'm like tend to be more inside. But so I think maybe part of it is I do all of my technical stuff with my podcasting on my cell phone. So it's a tiny screen, it's limited, although I found a really good free editing software, and I've shared that with some of you that have reached out. It's just like when you're editing vlogs and you have a bunch of short little snippets, it's a lot. And I do plan on doing Vlogmas. I'm not ready to talk about Vlogmas because it's still like, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday, followed very closely by Christmas, but like I'm not ready to rush through. By the way, this is going to be a sit and sip your tea with Amber kind of episode. I just feel like I need a slow, introspective, let's be cozy kind of filming experience today. So there's going to be some chatting, which I wasn't sure. My last episode, I had a bit of chatting in the beginning, and I was a little nervous because I've had viewers comment. I have commenters that comment off, or viewers that comment often, and then I have some that will just every now and then leave a comment. But in the past, I've had some say that they prefer just getting right into the knitting. That's why they're here. And so I always get a little nervous, but at the same time, I feel like I have to be true to myself and because this isn't like, it's not like my job. It's just something I do for enjoyment and to connect with, you guys. And so I've never been one to pretend to be something I'm not. So that's not true. I used to do that when I was younger, but because I always wanted to seem put together. See, you're learning about me on this episode. But yeah, I thought I would take a few minutes to chat. So I told you about my busyness. I'm drinking some hot tea. I already had my coffee. I only have 1 cup of coffee a day typically, and I do like a half caffeinated. We have an espresso machine. My husband, for those of you that have been around, you probably know my husband roasts our coffee, and he's been doing that for probably, I don't know, 6 years. So I'm very spoiled in that way because he can fine tune the roasting so it's just how we like it. But I usually do a shot of decaf espresso and a shot of regular espresso every morning and just drink it with some maple syrup and almond milk. So I've already had that this morning. So I'm having some Tulsi hibiscus tea this morning. And Tulsi tea is, well, it's like holy basil, I think is what the main herb is. And it's supposed to be really good for you. So I have plain holy basil tea, and then I'm sorry, I'm distracted. Somebody is going out onto my front porch, which is weird because there's snow outside. Anyway, this is hibiscus flavor, so it has a little bit of an extra flavor to it, which I actually prefer this one better. But what was I saying? Oh yes, so yesterday Ian and Lily, my 2 children, I have 3 children, one is married and living outside of the home, of course, and then I have 2 children at home still, and they both yesterday got their wisdom teeth out. And so that was a busy day. Yeah, me taking 2 kids to get their wisdom teeth out, which it was fine. But yeah, anyway. It was so horrible though, because I woke up, let's see, today's Tuesday. I woke up Sunday night into Monday at like, I don't know, 2 in the morning. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't buy food. I didn't make food. I didn't get anything soft other than I had made some homemade applesauce over the weekend. So I woke up and I hurried up and did a Walmart delivery order of like pudding and just some other thing, macaroni and cheese, because that can be, soft. And then I was like trying to make a plan. What can I make? Mashed potatoes. I can do pancakes the second day, like just trying to come up with a plan. And then neither of them really ended up eating anything because they were in so much pain, and Lily reacted in a negative way to the anesthetic, so she was out for the count the entire day. So yeah, I didn't sleep well last night. Not because of them, just because, and I didn't sleep well the night before, which is probably another reason I'm feeling kind of weird. Anyway, I want to show you guys, I have like 3 pairs of socks, 2 that are finished, one that's almost halfway done. I have a couple of garments, and then I want to talk a bit about our Ranunculus knit along. I want to show you some yarn that I'm going to use for my next one. I already knitted my first one. You can go back a few episodes if you want to see that one. It was a black one that I knit out of Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. And I'm waiting for, well, we'll talk about that later in the episode, right? And then I have a couple of yarn shops that I want to talk about. And so, and some updates in those that have piqued my interest. Just some things like that, random things. And yeah, we'll just see where this goes. Like I said, it may not be a long episode, but then again, it may be because I seem to be chatting a lot. So first things first, I want to talk about what I'm wearing. And this is the Drima sweater. This is a pattern by Jennifer Steingass, or Knit Love Wool. And I knit this using Drops Air. The darker color is, I think it's just called charcoal. And then the lighter color, the contrast, is pearl gray. And it is, let me see if you can, it kind of looks white on camera, but it's actually a very, very light gray. This is another one of my favorite colorwork sweaters, and I actually really, really love this Drops Air for colorwork if you need a worsted weight, air and weight yarn for a colorwork sweater. I knit one of these for my daughter first, and I loved it so much that I bought more of the same yarn and I knit myself the exact same one. So we both have matching identical sweaters. And on my last episode, I wore another Jennifer Steingast. I wore the Arboreal sweater. So I really like her patterns. Check her out if you haven't already. I feel like, I think all of her sweaters, or at least the majority of them, are 2-color stranded color work. So you don't have to worry about manipulating a third color into that. And so it just makes it a little bit easier. And I think her patterns are just really easy to understand if you're a first-time colorwork knitter. But she does do, for both of these last 2 sweaters, the Arboreal and then the Drima, this is just like a rolled neckline here. And I don't remember if I made any adjustments because it's been a long time since I've knit this sweater, but it is one of my favorites. The Drops Air is holding up nicely. I do have some pilling. I don't know if you can see that. I would say I have less pilling than the shepherd's wool yarn that I used for my Arboreal, and this is a blown yarn, so that's probably why, because it's alpaca yarn blown into I think it's some sort of synthetic netting. So I'm sure that most of you are familiar with blown yarn, but Drops Air is a blown yarn. They have lots of pretty colorways. I usually order mine off of Wool Warehouse because that seems to be the easiest place to find the most colors in one place, and the shipping's reasonable, even though it is coming from the UK. So that's where I get most of my Drops yarn. But anything else to say? No, I don't think so. Just that I really love this sweater, and I really love Drops Air for color work, and I want to work with it some more eventually. That is what I'm wearing. I finished 2 pairs of socks in the time that I talked to you last. Excuse me while I grab a yarn ball. It just went rolling off there. Okay, so the first pair is the Patons Kroy. This is knit with Patons Kroy in the Mid-Century stripes. I'm not even going to get my sock blockers because I don't care. I'm just going to show you guys. And I shared these with you last episode, so I'm just not going to talk about these a lot other than to tell you that it is, I knit these on size 2, US 2, which is I think a 2.75 millimeter. And as with all Patons Kroy socks that I knit, I always do a 52 stitch cast on for myself. And so I wear a size US 7.5 to 8, but this cast on works like for a decent range in there. Like I would do the same cast on for my daughter who wears a size 6, 6.5. I would just, do the length differently. I really like this yarn. I'm happy these are done. I was calling these my vintage fall socks, and the only reason I'm happy that they're done is because I want to wear them. They're just so pretty. The color is more rich in real life. Looks a bit lighter on camera. And I started at the top, went the whole way through, didn't switch out any contrasting colors for anything because I had 2 skeins of this yarn, and I used all of that yarn except for this. And the reason, okay, so I did 1 skein per sock because I wanted to match them up, but I used a little bit of this skein. This leftover skein was the same size as this one, but my friend had a birthday last week, and I bought her a book, and then I made her a little mug rug using this, and it was super cute. I didn't take a picture, I just didn't even think about it. But yeah, I made a little mug rug and gave her the book and a little mug rug for her teacup. And the way I did that mug rug is I cast on 30 stitches on size 2 needles. I just used the same needles as I did for these socks. And the reason that happened is because I was out somewhere and I thought I had grabbed my knitting, but I had grabbed the wrong knitting bag. I grabbed the knitting bag with these completed socks in it, and I thought I had grabbed a bag with socks that were in progress. So I'm like, oh, darn. And I was going to be out for a while. So I was like, okay, what can I make with these? And so I just decided to make a little mug rug. And I'm actually going to make one for myself because I love these colors. These are such good colors for me anyway. Some of my, actually maybe all of my favorites are just like stitched up in this sock. So yes, Patons Kroy sock yarn, Midcentury stripes, and 2 skeins for a decent sized leg for those. I always like to save my leftovers so I can show you guys. I don't really take the time to weigh out my leftovers, but I don't know, I find that interesting. Okay, so the next pair of socks, these are a gift for somebody for Christmas, and I know that I said I didn't want to talk about Christmas, and I don't, but I'm kind of thinking about Christmas because of gifts and gift knitting, and you cannot wait till the month of December if you want to give gifts that are knitted. You would be so stressed. You would just have to spend every minute of every day knitting in December, which, as much as that sounds enjoyable, it's not practical. So I am thinking ahead, and I do happen to really love giving socks to the knitworthy people in my life, and I feel like all of those people really like to receive the socks. So I knit a lot of socks for gifts. And I have this pair of socks completed. I don't know that I've ever shown these on here, but I showed the yarn when I got it. It is a label. Label's gone. It is a Drops Fabel. Okay, this is all that's left. It was 1 skein, but it was a 50 gram skein. So I got, out of 50 grams, I got two socks for like a size 7.5, 8 women's foot. I did use a contrast color. I got this out of I used to have a Row 1 subscription. It was a 10 gram mini. That's all that's left over from that. And so I would not have had enough to do the heels. So I just did the cuffs and the toes. And I was very impressed that I was able to get 2 socks out of 150 gram skein, because 50 gram skein. I'm having issues with my words today. And still have a little bit left over. So I was impressed by that. I actually bought quite a bit of this yarn when I was buying, what was I getting? I was getting some other type of drops yarn from Wool Warehouse back in the summer. Yeah, it was back in the summer. And they had this on sale for like $2 something a skein. Or maybe it was like $3 US a skein. So it was a real steal. Now, it was my first time working with Drops Fabel, and I can say honestly I'm not the hugest fan of it, which is kind of disappointing because I have a lot of it to work through. I like how it looks and I like how it feels now that it's worked up, but I did notice that the yarn is pretty, in my opinion, splitty. Maybe it was just this particular skein. Maybe I was just unlucky and that skein was like that. So we'll see when I cast on my next pair in a different skein of yarn. It doesn't look, well, it's kind of a loose ply. So perhaps that is why. You know, whenever you're putting your needle in. So normally when I knit socks in the round like this, I can really just go to town and not even have to look at my knitting, which I was able to knit without looking at it, but I noticed I was sticking my needle through through strands of the stitch rather than through the whole stitch itself. Does that make sense? So it's just a little bit splittier than what I'm used to, but now that it's done, I really like it, and it has that kind of not rustic but durable feel, which I really appreciate in commercial yarns. I really appreciate an indie dyed sock yarn, but they just don't feel, typically they don't feel as durable as a commercially produced yarn. So do I have anything else to say? Just that I used a US 0 needle And that is what I normally use when I knit fingering weight socks, because I like the tight gauge it gives. And I cast on 60 stitches for this, which is what I typically do for when I knit socks for myself or for women who have feet similar in size to me. Okay, so that was all I have for finished objects. Because I had such a busy last 2 weeks, I did not have as much knitting time. I was doing a lot of housework, and you know, we picked our apples, we put our garden to bed, which I don't know if I have a picture of that. If I do, I'll put it up here. We finally got that done just in time for the snow, because my husband and my son put the last of the wood chips on our beds on Saturday, so just in time for the cold weather. So it's just been I've been really busy with housework, which I love, so no complaints, and just all the other things I told you about at the beginning. So knitting has not been getting as much attention as it does in some periods of time. Okay, so let's continue on to my works in progress, and my first one is another pair of socks, and this is also a gift, but not a Christmas gift. This is just a gift for a friend who has not had the cheeriest of fall, like her last several months. She's been dealing with some stuff. So I'm making prayer socks. I've made prayer shawls, lots of prayer shawls before. I've talked about that on here, but sometimes it's nice to make a prayer sock. And so basically it's the same thing as when I make a prayer shawl. I'm just spending time in prayer for that person and their particular need, if I know it, while I'm knitting on it. And so this is what I have so far. This yarn, the striping yarn, the self-striping yarn, was sent to me by a generous viewer who contacted me in my email and asked if she said that she wanted to send me some like Patons Kroy yarn and yarn that was similar to it because she had found it on sale. She lives in Canada. I thought that was really kind of her, especially considering the cost of shipping from Canada. So she sent me a bag of like 6 different skeins of commercial sock yarn, and I am using one of those skeins. So the contrast color is just a Patons Kroy that I had left over from my fletching socks that I made last month, I think. It's just like is this called Muslin, I think? So I'm just contrasting because I didn't know how much. I want to be able to make 2 pairs of socks out of one skein because I only have one skein of this color. And so I'm doing everything with a contrasting color. But this is what I've got. And this brand is Alize. And I'll show you. It's Cloudy Skies. So it's 75% superwash wool and 25% polyamide. And I am doing the 52-inch cast on size 2 US needles. And then I just did a flat heel flap and gusset, which is what I did with these socks as well, the other Patons Kroy socks. Oh, so this brand of yarn is supposed to be made by the same company that makes Patons Kroy, I guess is how the story goes with it. And I would say it feels just like I'm working with Patons Kroy. So it has the same feeling. It has the same, like the weight of the yarn feels the same. It feels very durable. So I would say that's an accurate statement that it's made by the same company, by the same mill. But this is what I've got so far, and I just made this a shorter leg because this particular woman wears a lot of like cute ankle, a little bit above the ankle boots, and I thought this might look nice just to peek out above her boot. And yeah, this is what I have done on that. And I literally just casted this on yesterday. So this is how fast this is why I love Patons Kroy. It's a little bit thicker yarn, so it's not maybe good to wear in every type of shoe, but to wear it in a boot. And it's a little bit thicker and warmer and just feels so good. It hugs your foot because it's nice and thick and woolly. And it works up so quickly. So that is that. So thank you very much to that viewer. You know who you are, for sending me that. And I'm able to bless someone else with at least one skein of that yarn. All right. Now the next two projects, I just want to show you real quickly an update on my progress, because I haven't had a ton of progress on them, but I have had some. So the first one is my MaryAnna sweater, which is by, let me look back here, because I'm going to mess this name up if I don't. Folk City Fiber Studio. Yeah, I was confused. I was trying to remember the name of it earlier when I was writing down my show notes, and I couldn't. So Folk City Fiber Studio, the MaryAnna sweater. I'm not going to really talk a lot. If you want to hear more about how I modified this, the yoke of it, you can go to the episode that I linked down below where I talk about that more, because I'm not going to get into that again. But I want to show you my tiny progress that I made on this one. And it is basically, did I cast? I think I cast it off. I don't think I had cast it off last time I talked about this. So I cast it off on this, and I have one of the sleeves going. Now, I am slightly concerned about this difference in gauge right here. And the reason I have that is I switched from one needle that was a size 5 to another needle that was a size 5. But you know, it's a different brand, and I wanted the 9" because I like to just be able to go round and round and round. I don't care for magic loop, and double pointed. I will use them if I have to, but I had a size 5 9", so I thought, oh, I'm just going to switch over. But there's definitely a difference in size of stitches and tension, so I'm hoping that just blocks out. Another thing I've noticed whenever I take stitches off of being on hold on yarn and pick them up, there's often a line that forms, and you can see, I feel like you can see that right there. So most of the time that blocks out, just because the stitches are kind of like pulled up a bit and stretched out because they have been on a piece of yarn and just hanging out there and stuff, and then you pick them up, and you know, you're just messing with the legs of the stitches a bit, so they'll sometimes look a little lumpy bumpy like that, and then a good blocking normally will block that right out. Someone had asked me a question that I was going to address in my color work special episode, but I'm just going to talk about it now. So they had asked about how you prevent the bumps on the arms when you're switching from the yoke to just the plain stockinette, and you can see I have a little bit of bump there. So I don't know that you can totally prevent that from happening. I think some sweaters are more prone to do that. I think that also comes down to your tension though. So what I normally do is go up a needle size in my yoke color work, at least a needle size. I usually go up. So I'm doing the body in a size 5. The patterns typically don't tell you to go up in needle size for color work, but it's fairly common knowledge among people who do a lot of color work. So go up to a size 6, and that way it kind of, especially when you're first starting to knit color work and you're not comfortable with your tension when you're actually, because you're carrying yarns across here and you have to be very mindful. It's not hard. I'm not trying to intimidate you, but you just want to be mindful of how tight you're pulling your yarn as you're carrying it. So one of the ways that you can be more mindful, and also just it helps you to go up a needle size, because that helps with the tension. So that's another thing. And it will, like, see how this is here. This should also block out once this is all blocked and relaxed. That is the hope anyway. If you have any other helpful tints, leave hints. If you have any other helpful hints, just leave them down below. Last work in progress I want to show you is my Gloam cardigan by Caitlin Hunter. And I got a little bit done, so another project where I'm just doing stockinette. And actually this is back and forth stockinette in the flat, so I'm knitting one way and purling the other way. I'm going to play a game with myself. This is what I do sometimes. So when I worked on this 2 days ago, this is how much I got done. I put a little stitch marker. The next time I work on this, I'm going to put another stitch marker, and I'm going to try to beat that length of work that day. That's quite a bit. I know it doesn't look like a lot, but considering it is, here, let me hold this up, like back and forth, purling and then knitting. For the small amount of time I had to knit that day, I feel like that's decent, right? So yeah, I'll play a game and I will put a stitch marker here and I will try to beat this length. And then I'll just keep doing that until I reach the length that it needs to be. Honestly, I need to do that with the MaryAnna sweater as well. And sometimes we just have to play games with ourselves to keep ourselves going. But I am very excited about this, and also it is going to be a cardigan, so I feel like I'm going to get more use out of this one than the MaryAnna sweater, because I'm definitely shifting more towards wearing cardigans right now because they're easy on and off, as I need to take them on and off. But if, again, I talked about this pattern more extensively in one of my past episodes, like my more recent past episodes. And this is, though, I will tell you, Juniper Moon Farm yarn in the Patagonia base. And it is the color Acorn. So it's a really beautiful fall color. My plan was to have this done in the fall. So I think, I just thought of this. I think what I should try to do is have this done by Thanksgiving, and I could wear it on Thanksgiving Day because that's my favorite holiday, and this is going to be a really pretty cardigan. So, maybe that's going to be my goal. That sounds like a good one. Okay. Again, if you want more details on this, you can go to my last episode. I will try to link that down below as well. And that way you can, if you didn't watch that episode, you can hear a little bit more about that. So now I want to talk about just a few things before I wrap up this episode. And I want to talk about our Fall into Ronculus Knit Along 2023 that I am co-hosting with Diana and Katie from the Fruitful Hands podcast. I haven't talked about this for a couple of weeks because I just haven't. So I want to give you guys a little bit of update on that, but I'm going to run some roll over here. My daughter recently showed me how to do screen recording. I didn't know how to do that. So it's quite a handy thing when you want to do something like this. I'm going to show you basically all I did to get this is I went on to Instagram and I typed in the hashtag that we're using for this knit along, and I'm just scrolling down through all of the posts with that hashtag. So I thought I would just share that while I talked about it. And I think it was almost like 5 minutes worth of footage. So lots of people participating, which is wonderful. And just if this is the first time watching and you're interested, we are running this knit along through the end of November. We started it on the first day of fall, which this year was September 23rd. And basically we're just knitting Ranunculi. I knit, as I said earlier, I've knit lots of Ranunculi sweaters, but my first one during the knit along, I knit out of Knit Picks. I just talked about this. I knitted out of a Knit Picks yarn. I could probably go back here and look. Please tell me other people have experienced this kind of brain fog. Oh gosh. Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. That's what it was. In the Onyx Heather. I will post, well, you've seen it. And if you haven't seen it, again, go back to that episode where I talk about it. I knit that one super quick, like in a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. Most of the Ranunculus that I have knit have been, actually, I think all of them have flown by really fast. I don't know why I don't get stuck in the boring part of that with all the stockinette, but I don't. Okay, so we are, both of our podcasts, so myself and then Katie and Diana are each doing an individual prize, which will be randomly chosen through the hashtag on Instagram. The hashtag will be linked down below so that you can, because it's a long one, so that way you can look there and copy and paste if you want. But I will be giving away some things that have been donated, as well as some things that I've purchased myself. And I think Katie and Diana, I forget. I don't want to say what they're giving away because just in case I have it wrong. I think I know, but I'm not going to say. But you can go watch their podcast. I highly recommend it. I love the two of them. They're a mother and daughter team. So if you haven't watched them, go check them out. But so I'll be giving away some goodies, and then if you're randomly chosen and you're not from the United States, because I'm only going to ship the physical gift to within the United States, just to kind of cut back on the shipping costs because they are pretty high right now. But if you're not in the United States, then I will gift you a couple of patterns on Ravelry of your choosing, or Etsy. Although I don't know, can you gift patterns on Etsy? We'll figure that out if that happens, if you don't use Ravelry. But anyway, yes, so you have until the end of November, which I realize this is November 1st, so you have 30 days, and you don't have to complete it. That was another thing. We really encourage you to put an effort into completing it because it's a great sweater. And this is, sometimes you just need a little bit of extra oomph to get something done that you've maybe been wanting to try. And I know that a lot of you viewers have talked to me about have left comments about how you've wanted to try a Ranunculus, but you never have. So maybe use this as your opportunity to just get a little push, because you'll be doing it together and you can look at everybody's projects on Instagram. And also, if you don't use Instagram, you can send me a picture. Like you can just send me one picture. Well, no, you can send me a picture of your project to my email, which I have linked down below, alovelyyarn@gmail.com. So that is for people who do not use Instagram, because I realize not everybody does. All right, so I want to show you, I grabbed this. I had to actually pause the video because my husband came up. He works from home. He has an office in the basement, but he spends all day on the phone and behind a computer screen, and he's very loud. And he came upstairs and he was talking because he was making himself another coffee, and all I could hear was his voice, and I was like, yeah, it's definitely going to get picked up on camera. It may have gotten picked up on it anyway. And so I paused it and I thought, well, I'm going to grab my first Ranunculus. Well, this isn't the very first one, but this is the first one I knit for this knit along, and I love it so much. As I said, Knit Picks Wool of the Andes and the Onyx Heather, which does look very much like navy on the screen, but it's actually charcoal with, I would say, a blue undertone. And my husband's coming back up the stairs, so I'm going to pause this again. I will be right back. Okay, and I want to show you this next one. Again, I'm not going to go through all of them because I think I've knit 4 or 5 now, but I'm going to show you this one because the next one I'm going to be knitting as soon as the yarn comes is going to be very similar to this, because it's going to be fingering weight held double with mohair. And that is actually, this was a Surrey alpaca now that I think about it. So it's going to be very similar. So I knit this one with a strand of fingering weight that I don't have the name because somebody had sent it to me, but it was a really beautiful variegated yarn. And then I got a Surrey alpaca, like minty green color, from my friend Jody of Flower Hill Fleeces, and I held it double. And this is a very soft, luxurious sweater. In fact, I wore it to church on Sunday, and my husband had his arm around me. He's like, "You're so soft." And it's just such a soft combination to have those two together. So yeah, I will be knitting another one very similar to this, because I am going to be knitting a fingering weight held with a mohair. And I got this, again, there's my husband. I'll be right back. All right, guys, I apologize. I feel like this podcast episode is a mess. It's probably not as bad as I'm thinking. Our interior walls are not insulated at all, and we have just cheap, like, compressed fiber doors, so you can hear everything. Like, our house is not very private. So my husband was on a phone call making himself another cup of coffee, but he was back and forth, up and down, because he had to keep running down to do the next thing. And I really feel like refilming all of this, but I don't feel like messing around with that because the clock is ticking. It's 11 o'clock in the morning already. So we're just going to keep going on. And if you don't like it, I'm sorry. Just don't watch this episode. And I don't mean that in any rude way at all. I just know that there are people who have made comments about certain things that are sometimes beyond a podcaster's control, including mine. And so when we're filming from our homes, in our bedrooms or living rooms or wherever it is, we don't have a studio. We're not using professional equipment. Like, it's not a professional thing for the majority of podcasters. So you get us, you get what you get. And I'm probably just going to leave this in here. Because this is the let's keep it real episode. Let's keep it real with Amber episode. But anyway, so choppy today. Okay, so my next ranunculus is going to be knit out of a fingering weight held double with a mohair, and my friend Jody of Flower Hill Fleeces gave me this yarn. Okay, so my friend Jody gave me this yarn. It was some extra stuff that didn't turn out the way that she had wanted it, and I was down there visiting and purchasing some other yarn, and she's like, look through these things. So I looked, and I found this beautiful blue color. It does not have a name, and I don't think this is anything that she, carried or carries, or at least it didn't turn out the way she wanted or something like that. So it does have more of an undertone of green than is showing on the camera, but they're both skeins that were dyed together, so they're the same color, and I love this shade of blue, so I thought I would love to make another ranunculus with this. She didn't have any mohair that worked with it, so I've just been kind of keeping my eyes peeled, and I was thinking the other day how much I'd like to make another one of these before the knit along is over. So I looked up the Drops Kid Silk, which I used to make my no frills pullover a couple of years ago, and I found some on an Etsy shop. I think it came from Lithuania, I think. I'll link it down below. But I got this color, which is called Jeans Blue, and I thought that it would, I'm sorry, so I couldn't screenshot just that color, so it's the one in the top corner, number 27. That's Jeans Blue. So I'm going to hold it double when it arrives. I'm going to knit another ranunculus with this, and I'm just going to kind of see the sleeve length and all that as I see how much yarn I have. So I would assume this is like 430 some yards. It's not tagged, so I don't know that for sure. And then I bought enough to have enough to hold double with this. So I will adjust the length of the sweater and the length of the sleeves as I go and see what it's like. But anyway, beautiful blue. I love this color blue. And that is what I'm going to knit my next ranunculus in. So speaking of Jody, I just wanted to say that she is doing, I think she currently has on her website, which will be linked in my description box, she had dyed up some more Farm Fresh eggs, which is a colorway of hers that I have talked about on here numerous times. I bought one skein of yarn of that colorway off of her, and I knit 3 different pairs of socks, just using different contrasting yarns with them. I knit 1 pair of regular length and 2 pairs of shorties, and apparently some of you had reached out to Jody after seeing my episodes and asked if she would be willing or able to dye that colorway up, and because she didn't currently have it on her website. So she did do that. I think it was last week that she posted, I shared it on Instagram, that she had it in her shop. So head on over to her shop if you would like to get your hands on that beautiful colorway. It's the perfect fall colorway, I think. I don't have any of it left in the skein, but I'll put a picture up here, or I will have already put a picture up so you can see what it looks like. but it's just a beautiful color for fall. So that will be in her shop. And then another thing I wanted to talk about was lichen and lace. So I talked about them in my last episode. I mentioned that I had gotten some of a skein of her yarn from the Salty Sheep yarn shop in Swansboro, North Carolina, while we were there on vacation. And I was so excited about that because the shipping, to have it shipped from Canada from on her website, is really expensive to get it shipped to the United States. Like, so expensive that I've never ordered it that way because I just couldn't bring myself to buy the postage or to spend that much on postage. Well, one of my viewers alerted me to the fact that she also has an Etsy shop, and if you spend a certain amount on her Etsy shop, you get free shipping. So I got on and I added 3 skeins. Each of these skeins of sock yarn were only $21.12 US dollars. So that is like fantastic. I added them to my cart and my order did qualify for free shipping. I did not go on to purchase those, so I just was kind of doing a little experiment so I could let you guys know if that was indeed something that would work for everyone. Perhaps you could do 2 skeins and get the free shipping. I don't know. I didn't try that. I just threw 3 in real quick, and yes, indeed, free shipping. So if you're interested in the lichen and lace yarn and you can't get it locally and you don't want to pay all that for postage, I guess you can get onto Etsy and do it through there and get free shipping if you order a certain amount. So just wanted to share that with you guys. And I think that's all that I have for today. Thanks for being here with me and putting up with me today. It's probably not as bad as I'm imagining it in my head. I think it's just like, you know how you do that sometimes? I'm probably just being hard on myself. I just feel like it's been just really scattered today and interrupted. I've had multiple interruptions and stuff, and it's okay, because I told you, like, this is not the, you know, it's just how it is. And I'm just glad that I get to film and speak with you guys and talk to you guys about knitting. And I'm still trying to catch up on the comments. I've just got my emails caught up, so if you reached out to me, you should have gotten a response. If not, I'm sorry, I just missed it. That can happen. Unfortunately, my email that I use for my podcast also gets a lot of junk email, and things sometimes get buried. So that may happen from time to time. And I'm still working through some comments from like 2 episodes ago. But I'm sorry if I don't get back to you guys right away. As the channel has grown, which I'm so thankful for, but as it's grown, it's gotten harder to just stay on top of all that. So it's just, you know, I'm just doing my best with that. But I really appreciate you guys commenting and liking and choosing to spend time with me. So I just hope when you come here, you have, like, it feels peaceful and calm and not chaotic, which is what it may have felt like today. But yeah, I do this because I really enjoy knitting, and I enjoy talking to others about my knitting and sharing with you guys, and hopefully providing some inspiration along the way. And you guys always encourage me, and you're often leaving, like, recommendations for new patterns that are exciting, and I just love that. I've told you before, it's like a treasure hunt. When somebody leaves a pattern name, I'm like, ooh, let's go see what this pattern's all about on Ravelry. And so that's just like really fun for me to do. So having said all of that, I am going to go ahead and close up this episode now. If you want to find me on social media, I'm mostly just on Instagram, and that is linked down below, as well as my email address and my Ko-Fi account. Thank you for all of those of you who financially support this channel. That means the world to me. I really appreciate it. And thank you guys for joining me again this week, and I will hopefully talk to you soon. Goodbye.